Tonight, breaking news just in. Former FBI Director James Comey indicted. The historic indictment containing 2 counts, one for a false statement and the other for obstruction of a congressional inquiry. Attorney General Pam Bondi saying tonight that no one is above the law. Plus, the shooting at the ICE facility in Texas, the FBI recovering handwritten notes at the gunman's home about his targets. One note that read, quote, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror." Authorities say the 29-year-old suspect used apps to track ICE agents' locations and researched information about that ICE facility. The double threat tropical storm Umberto now forecast to become a hurricane this weekend, while a second system is already producing heavy rain in the tropics. The big question tonight, could they interact? Al Roker standing by. Also tonight, Amazon agrees to pay billions after the FTC says the tech giant made it hard for people with Prime memberships to get out of them. Does Amazon now owe you money? Our series, The Cost of Denial, a family struggle to get coverage for their teenage son's mental health treatment after his suicide attempt, their fear for his life, and what happened after our repeated questions about his case. The smash and grab caught on camera with nearly 24 robbers stealing about $1 million worth of jewelry. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. We start with that late-breaking news tonight. Former FBI Director James Comey has just been indicted on 2 counts. Comey is charged with making a false statement and obstruction. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia says it is related to his testimony before a Senate committee on September 30th, 2020. Attorney General Pam Bondi posting on X, quote, "No one is above the law." For days, the DOJ has been weighing whether to charge the former FBI director. And moments ago, the president posting this on Truth Social, quote, "Justice in America," adding that Comey is, quote, "being held responsible for his crimes against our nation." Laura Jarrett is here with that breaking news. And Laura, walk our viewers through this, what has happened, because it's never happened in our history.
It's never happened. We've seen a lot of firsts in this administration and the last one, but this is truly remarkable, Tom. This is the man who once served as the top law enforcement officer of our country, now indicted by a federal grand jury. We are just getting the actual indictment. We had wondered who it would be signed by, what it would say. It's very brief, only 2 pages, providing very little detail at all beyond what we've already reported, Tom, about it having to do with obstruction to Congress, about having to do with a false statement to Congress stemming from his testimony back in 2020. He was asked by Senator Ted Cruz about whether he had ever authorized a leak to the media, approved someone else making that type of leak. He said he stood by some earlier testimony where he had denied any wrongdoing. And so that is, at least according to this indictment, what all the case involves has to do with that exchange with Ted Cruz. We'll see whether more comes out. You can always have a superseding indictment where you add some more meat on the bones. But as of right now, we are not getting much more. Apparently, according to our producer who was in the room, the actual interim U.S. attorney, Mr. Trump's former defense attorney, Lindsay Halligan, who's been put in place right now, she was in the courtroom. There was a lot of back and forth and confusion about the counts, whether, in fact, the jury had returned a true bill, actually indicted him on all of these counts. But it's rare to have the U.S. attorney herself in the courtroom. So I think sort of signals how the Justice Department was searching for someone to bring these charges, which the president, again, of course, had demanded for quite some time.
All right, Laura Jarrett, we thank you for that. Stand by for us. We also want to go to our Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent, Kelly O'Donnell, who's been tracking this for us as well. Kelly, take us inside the Department of Justice over the last few days.
Well, as Laura was just saying, the search for a prosecutor who would bring these charges was a big part of the backstory here. And on the true bill that you were talking about, Lindsay Halligan's signature does appear. She is a person who has just been placed in this role as the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, coming into that post from the White House, and prior to that, as a personal lawyer for President Trump. She has not ever been a prosecutor. She came to the job after the longtime person in that role, who had been supported by others in the legal community as a strong lawyer, resigned abruptly, and later the president said he was fired in what we believe to be, based on our reporting, a dispute over this case, not believing there was sufficient evidence to bring it to a grand jury, to bring it to federal charges. And his exit, which was a lot of drama for the Eastern Virginia district, then led to a close friend of the president, an associate of the president, becoming part of this. And now her signature, her fingerprints, and the political imprimatur of the president is certainly on this, with the president posting about it tonight, and also next steps still to be determined if we hear from Comey or his counsel. Tom?
We thank you for that. We're going to come back to Laura now. Laura, we're hearing a lot of reaction from the president, from the director of the FBI, and from Pam Bondi as well. This could all be part of Comey's case as well, correct?
Absolutely. Everything that has been said in the public, Tom, everything is going to go in what's called a memo to try to get this case dismissed, thrown out of court before it ever goes to a jury. And I assure you that that's what the defense counsel for Comey is doing right now, is gathering all of that information. We don't know yet what judge will be this will be in front of, but a judge will be the one to decide that.
Okay, Laura Jarrett, we thank you for that. Okay, now to the investigation into that deadly shooting at the ICE office in Dallas. Authorities today releasing chilling details about the gunman, who they say wrote he wanted to unleash terror on ICE officers. Priscilla Thompson has the late details.
Tonight, investigators revealing disturbing new details about a gunman they say was fixated on killing ICE agents and had been planning his attack on a Dallas ICE facility for months.
What he did is the very definition of terrorism.
The FBI saying they found his handwritten notes, including one that read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?"
He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility.
In addition to writing anti-ICE on his bullets, the FBI says the gunman downloaded a list of DHS facilities, searched apps that tracked ICE agents, and conducted multiple searches for the, quote, Charlie Kirk shot video. Before, investigators say he got onto a roof across from the ICE office and started firing indiscriminately, hitting a van with detainees inside, killing one of them, and then taking his own life. A man who says he was in the same Boy Scout troop with the suspect as a teen described a conversation about migrant caravans in recent years. He was just upset about how people were not understanding people's desperation to get out of bad situations, the Scout member, who asked not to be named, told NBC News. President Trump's border czar blaming Democrats' fierce criticism of ICE.
When they have a congressman or someone that ran for vice president of the United States comparing ICE to Nazis, that gives some of these nuts and emboldens them to take action.
We need leadership coming from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to take the temperature down for everybody.
Officials say the gunman acted alone. Was there anything that you all have found in terms of an inciting incident that led him to commit this attack?
People can be motivated to violence by any number of grievances. In this case, the clearest indication of motivation are his own words. He wanted to cause terror. He wanted to harm ICE personnel.
All right, Priscilla joins us now live. And Priscilla, we're learning more about the people who were inside that facility when this happened.
Yeah, Tom, one woman who was inside said that she escaped violence in El Salvador and was nervous about coming back here today. We know that the office is set to reopen on Monday with increased security. Tom?
All right, Priscilla Thompson leading us off tonight. We want to turn now to the tropics and the impact of Tropical Storm Humberto and another developing system. You're looking at rescue workers in Puerto Rico who found the body of a person swept away while crossing a bridge in their car. Al Roker joins us right now live. And Al, we're looking to two storms and a volatile situation.
Absolutely, Tom. Right now, you can see the heavy thunderstorms and heavy rain over Puerto Rico. That's tropical disturbance 94L. Humberto, 60-mile-per-hour winds, northwest at 6. Will most likely become a major hurricane by Monday, Category 3. But here's the development zone where this tropical depression could develop near the Bahamas. These two systems interacting is what we call the Fujiwara effect. That might affect the actual development and track of this system. But right now, the models bring it along the southeastern Atlantic coast. There is a consensus that it could make possible landfall along the eastern seaboard sometime early next week. We'll continue to track it, but this is still a developing situation, Tom.
Yeah, we're going to stay watching this. Al, we thank you. We're also tracking news out of the Federal Trade Commission, which says Amazon has agreed to pay $2.5 billion to settle a lawsuit over what the FTC says were deceptive methods to sign people up for Prime subscriptions and make it difficult for them to cancel. Christine Romans is here. Christine, the settlement comes as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, Tom, opening arguments were just this past Tuesday in a case filed against Amazon during the Biden administration. But in that surprise move today, the FTC says Amazon decided to settle. The FTC sued Amazon, saying it had duped customers into subscribing to its $139 a year Prime membership, and then it made it too hard to cancel. A judge still needs to approve this deal, but if it goes through, here's what it could mean for you. An estimated 35 million customers with valid claims for unintentional enrollment. They're going to get up to $51 a piece. Amazon would also have to make Prime easier to cancel from now on. In a statement, the company said it has always followed the law and works hard to make it clear and simple for customers to both sign up or cancel their Prime membership, Tom.
All right, some people are going to get $50. Christine, we thank you. Now to that alarming scene off the coast of Alaska, U.S. fighter jets scrambling to intercept Russian warplanes. It all comes as European officials raise concerns about Russian aircraft crossing into their airspace. Here's Keir Simmons on the rising tensions across the globe tonight.
Overnight, the U.S. scrambling fighter jets to intercept 4 Russian warplanes near Alaska. The Russian jets never entered U.S. airspace, but are another sign President Putin is testing NATO. In Denmark's night sky, mysterious lights, drones that witnesses say hovered over an airport and military base, 2 days after 20,000 passengers had their flights disrupted. Denmark calling them hybrid attacks by a professional actor. The Russian embassy denying involvement, calling it staged and a provocation. While last week, Russian MiG fighter jets entered Estonian airspace, prompting this response from President Trump.
Mr. President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do. All of it after President Trump dramatically shifted his approach to Russia, saying Ukraine can win back its original borders, and today calling out the president of Turkey, a member of NATO, for still buying Russian oil.
I'd like to have him stop buying any oil from Russia while Russia continues this rampage against Ukraine.
While Ukraine's President Zelensky threatening Russia.
They have to know where their bomb shelters are. If they will not stop the war, they will need it in any case.
And tonight, more escalating rhetoric. Russia's foreign minister saying NATO and Europe have declared war on Russia through Ukraine. Tom?
Keir Simmons for us tonight. Keir, we thank you. Now to our series, The Cost of Denial, and a story about insurance coverage being refused in the middle of a mental health crisis. And after our repeated calls, a surprising resolution. Here's senior national correspondent Kate Snow.
Jonathan Benz-Bushling lives in western Michigan, a typical teen with an invisible illness, a mental health condition made worse by substance abuse. In February, he tried to kill himself.
We took him straight to the ER. They said then our hospital doesn't have pediatrics, so they need to find him a bed.
Jonathan ended up in an inpatient psychiatric unit, a doctor there noting patient too unstable to function outside of hospital.
What were the doctors saying at that point about what he might need next?
They said we need to find him a bed at a long-term residential treatment facility because he's not in a place where he can come home now and be safe.
Jonathan's parents, Misty and Nick, found that at Newport Academy in Washington State. Doctors there wanted Jonathan to stay 9 weeks.
5 days after Jonathan arrived, you get a letter from your insurance company. What does it say?
They said treatment at Newport facility was not medically necessary because he could receive care at a lower level.
At a lower level, not residential, but living at home and going somewhere to get care.
Right.
You've got 3 more letters saying the same thing.
Correct.
They appealed several times.
Not medically necessary.
Yep.
Not medically necessary.
Then a final appeal, submitting this 270-page document.
They deny again.
Correct.
The denial from an insurance plan run by Nick's employer, American Electric Power.
A care coordinator from insurance called and said, hey, can we help you find a therapist in town? And I told her, if my son comes home now, he will end his life and the blood will be on your hands.
Fearing for Jonathan's life, they paid out of pocket for a shorter stay at the residential facility. They took out a high-interest loan for $25,000. Nick sold a collection of limited edition Stephen King books. Their oldest daughter switched to an online college.
Our contributions to her tuition now are $0.
A care coordination company, Quantum Health, manages their insurance. Quantum told NBC News when reviewing coverage requests, it's obligated to follow American Electric Power's terms, including its rules for medical necessity. AEP told us it does not play a role in determining what treatment is provided to any covered individual. The Benz Bushlings threatened to sue American Electric Power to recover their costs. After interviewing the family, we reached out to AEP multiple times about Jonathan's story. And then 1 week after our last attempt, the family's attorney told us they had resolved their dispute. The financial terms are confidential. AEP telling us we are pleased that the family was able to resolve their concerns. Jonathan is back in high school, sober and going fishing with friends.
How would you describe your life right now?
Really good, actually. For like the first time in a while, I was able to go hang out with friends alone.
You see a change in him.
Absolutely.
They're feeling hopeful.
Maybe insurance companies will see this and say, oh, these are real people out there. It's not just a stack of paper.
Kate Snow, NBC News, Stevensville, Michigan.
Glad that family's getting help. All right, we'll be right back in 60 seconds with the breaking news, the framework to keep TikTok in America. How will it work, and the major players who are taking over from China? And as we go to break tonight, a look at the White House on this historic night. James Comey, indicted by a grand jury, the first time a former FBI director has been indicted in the history of this country. Stay with us. We're back now with a major development on TikTok. President Trump today signing an executive order clearing the way for American investors to take control of the social media platform in the U.S. Savannah Sellers joins me now. And Savannah, what's included in this order?
Yeah, Tom, that's exactly right. The president is essentially using this order to bless a plan that would see American investors take majority ownership and control of TikTok in the U.S. He also said this agreement resolves any national security concerns, in part because the order says that all important algorithm will be operated and monitored by the U.S., not by China. We also learned the company is being valued at $14 billion. Now, other than that, specific details were scarce. The president said Larry Ellison's Oracle will take a big role here, not a surprise, and the Murdoch family will be involved. The president cited young people's interest in the platform, also his own success on it during the election, as reasons he wanted to keep it around. Importantly, though, we have not heard from China or ByteDance since this has been signed, so this deal is by no means done. Tom?
Okay, still developing, I guess. Savannah, we thank you. We're going to be back in a moment with wild surveillance video. Look at this, showing nearly 24 armed robbers pull off a smash and grab at a California jewelry store, how much they stole, and history on Mount Everest, what this daredevil did to go all the way up and down and make it out okay without any oxygen. That's next. Back now with massive cuts at Starbucks, the coffee chain announcing a major restructuring today that will eliminate 900 non-retail jobs and close many open positions. The company is also set to close hundreds of stores and renovate others. It marks the latest big change from Starbucks' new CEO, Brian Niccol. Also tonight, some pretty dramatic video showing about 20 armed robbers swarming into this jewelry store for a smash and grab. You can see them tearing up everything in that store in San Ramon, California, before they run out and drive away. Police there say nobody was hurt and that several of the suspects were later detained. Reports say they stole nearly $1 million in jewelry. And overseas, look at this Mountaineer from Poland making history. He just became the first person to climb and ski down Mount Everest without an oxygen tank. The daredevil Andre Bargiles' team says he climbed for more than 16 hours to get up there before he made his way down on skis. At the top of Mount Everest, climbers can only get a third of the oxygen that you can breathe in at sea level. Incredible. That does it for us. That's Nightly News for this Thursday. I'm Tom Llamas. Thanks so much for watching. Tonight and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.